A new study has found that stoners happen to be more empathetic than the general population. They also tend to be calmer, a lot more fun. I'm making that up, but I think it's true anyway. So the study found that pot users also have greater emotional comprehension, AKA empathy, than people who do not partake in the devil's lettuce, okay, Cenk? And look, I can maybe talk from, I wouldn't say personal experience. Some of my close friends who might have experience with the devil's lettuce, they might be less empathetic, and then there's something about marijuana that gives you, it almost like activates a part of your brain that helps you kind of understand the world around you a little better and helps you come at things from a more empathetic place. I know friends who have experienced that.
Interesting. I'd like to meet your friends. Okay. Anyways, look, I don't know that I've had that experience, but does it? Obviously it gives you a different feeling. So obviously it's just like alcohol and to some degree coffee. It changes the way you're thinking in some ways. And so look, of all the studies done, there should be way more studies done, and that's why this should never been a Schedule I drug. Let's find out what's right with it and potentially what's wrong with it, right? We also can't know the downsides if we can't study it. So, but for the experience that we have and all of the comments that we've ever seen in any studies that we've seen, marijuana is a rare drug, and I include again alcohol in that category, where it seems to have a shocking number of upsides.
Yeah.
I'm not minimizing whatever downsides that it might have, and there are some downsides that I've read about. Obviously, and anything has to be done in moderation. You can't go out of control on anything, especially alcohol.
So don't wake and bake, but a nightly toke, I think is okay for my friends.
But whatever your proclivity is, that's okay. Let's find out what it does, right? So I like that this study happened in the first place. And then if it turns out that it makes pot more empathetic, let's legalize it in Washington, D.C. and get it to all the senators and everyone in Congress.
Oh my God, 100%. Okay, so I know that we haven't given you any actual details of the study itself, which we'll get to in just a moment, but doesn't our audience feel good? Like the audience members who are stoners, doesn't it feel so good to know that you're better people than the non-stoners? I'm just kidding, that's.
Okay, at least when you're high, you're a little bit better in being empathetic if the study is true.
Yeah, okay.
But let's wade into the weeds here.
Yes, we absolutely should do that. So here's a brief summary of what the researchers found, okay? Researchers at the Universidad Nacional Autónoma de México compared the brain activity of regular weed smokers with the rest of us and found that their interior cingulate, which is the region linked to empathy, was particularly active. In effect, this made the stoners more capable of sensing others' feelings and better able to feel someone else's emotional state within their own body. Now, Cenk, you may have noticed that, or you might say, I'm really not noticing that when you partake, but it's because that's who you are in your natural state, in your sober state.
Yeah, if I'm any more empathetic, I might explode. So
yeah.
And then guys, I mean that in a sense of like, I just happen to have a trait that.
He's an empath.
Yeah, I feel other people's emotions, as significantly so. And so that might make me take less pot, right? Or smoke less pot, because man, I don't know that I can handle other people's emotions any more than I'm already at.
Yeah. No, but look, I'm joking around. I definitely do feel that, right? I've told this story on the show before, but I'll tell it again. So my husband has this habit, and it's I totally know where it comes from because my parents are immigrants, his parents are immigrants, and our parents fled poverty, right? For him, it was from Cuba. For my parents, it was Armenia. And so they didn't have much growing up, and so they want to save everything. And so that trait was passed down onto me and Christian. I'm finally starting to get over it. Christian, though, has this habit of not wanting to throw Ziploc bags away. But like what's annoying is he'll try to wash the Ziploc bags, but not really. He'll fill the Ziploc bag with soapy water and then leave it in the sink for me to deal with it. And it irritates me. Like it makes me very angry. I just want him to throw the Ziploc bag away. So one day I come home from work, I'm super stressed, I've been sitting in traffic, I have no empathy, okay, I'm ready to rage. I look in the sink, the Ziploc bag full of soapy water is right there. And I'm like, you know what, I'll show him. I take it and I take this soapy water filled Ziploc bag and I put it on his pillow. You deal with it, right?
Oh, Jesus.
Then I smoke some pot. And like almost immediately I'm like, you know, that is a very mean thing to do.
Yeah.
And I know where he's coming from. I grew up in a household just like his. Yeah, I'm just gonna throw the Ziploc bag away myself and move on with my life and never mention it to him.
Well, I'm glad you got there, Casper.
See?
Okay, but
Case study.
I would have counseled you earlier to perhaps communicate about the Ziploc bags.
No, we did. I did later. I told him, I was like, babe, I know our parents had it rough, but they had it rough so we could have it better. So like, it's okay, we can throw the Ziploc bag away.
Look, I had the same immigrant experience, and it took me until my 40s to start throwing away socks with holes in them. Okay, I'm like, no, one more use. Okay, because look, we grew up poor, and we didn't have the luxury of not mending your socks, etc. But we're grown ups now. Let's throw away the Ziploc bags and the socks with the holes.
Dude, our parents came here and they struggled and worked really hard so we can be wasteful and live the American dream. Okay, okay. But joking aside, a little more detail on the study itself. Like they used MRI scans, so this wasn't just based on human responses, reporting what they're feeling. It's, okay, let's look at the MRI scan. So that test measured the subjects on cognitive empathy, the ability to understand other people's emotions, and affective empathy, being able to physically sense what others are feeling. And the study explains that in the present study, regular cannabis users scored higher on emotional comprehension when compared to non-users. Previous research has shown that these types of psychometric results correspond with the subjective experience and behaviors of cannabis users related to a greater understanding of other emotions, less verbal hostility, God, so true, enhanced pro-sociality, not true, and empathetic predisposition to other situations. The enhanced pro-sociality is, just from my personal experience, definitely I do not feel more social on pot.
Yeah. And then the caveat I'll give to the entire study, as I would to any study that studies people's basically behavior, brains, etc., is everybody's different, guys. So pot affects you in different ways, and so they're giving you a macro look here, a general look, but it doesn't necessarily apply to everyone. And we're all in different places on the spectrum on so many different parts of our personalities, and pot affects you differently. And in my experience, pot just enhances what you already are.
Yes, yeah.
And so if you're social, it might make you more social. If you're paranoid, it might make you more paranoid. Like a lot of people report being paranoid on pot. For me, almost never, because I'm just not a paranoid person at all. So what it does is it emphasizes the thing that I already am, which is generally speaking, happy. And so when I'm on pot, I'm super happy.
That's so true. And look, to be fair, going back to what I said about how it doesn't make me social, that's actually wrong. If I'm with people I trust and people I really like, I can't stop talking. Like I get super chatty, so much so that like, I don't know, maybe an hour into me like yapping away, I'm like, oh, I've been talking this entire time, I should probably stop. So yeah, it really does depend. And by the way, the authors do make note of that, saying that the differences in empathy could be related to the use of cannabis, but they added that they can't discard differences were present before the users started their use of cannabis.
I'm gonna say one last thing about this.
Sure.
Pot makes me funnier. Like
we all think that, Cenk.
No. In all seriousness, people who who don't even know I'm high at different times will be like, "Man, you're really funny tonight. What the hell happened?"
Really?
Which, by the way, is a nice little insult. What? Am I normally not funny? But it just bottom line is, generally speaking, it makes you more empathetic. That's wonderful. That's wonderful to hear. But of course, it's going to affect you differently based on who you are.
Hey, thanks for watching that video. We really appreciate it, guys. And we appreciate it if you become members, because that allows us to be independent, honest, progressive, all the things that you don't get from corporate media. And all of that is because of you guys. Hit the join button below and become one of us. Become a Young Turk.